dear viewer, wherever you're watching West TV from. This is the Morning Scoop. We are coming to you live from Bungoma. On the Morning Scoop this morning, we're going to look at what's happening out there. The Gen Zs have given us a new narrative. They actually own the narrative. They are doing things on their terms. And we as the parents are looking at them and marveling where they get the energy. But we're going to also include reason why they are doing what they are doing. I remember in the 80s, we had the student movement in Kenya that called out the leadership. Came to the 90s, we had a lot more forces joining with the student leadership. That bore the Kibaki administration. After that, according to my case today, we were set up for failure. So this new generation that is now owning the space is giving us a new direction. Join us as we do this conversation. Join me as I invite my guest, Chief. This is the second time you're coming in as much months, right? You were here last month.
Yeah.
You look like you are good.
I'm okay. Well,
how are you?
I've not been a casualty of the state operation, so I'm okay. Yeah.
State operations should know that you are now old. You're
in
not...
times like this, I would be either running somewhere or in custody.
Or hiding.
Preemptive arrest. You're arrested before the function begins. So, but I'm okay. I'm okay, brother. Yeah, my name is Ofula Boke.
Yes.
Yeah.
Aha. What is happening?
I think what's happening is, there's a scholar in history called Frantz Fanon who says every generation out of relative obscurity discovers its mission and either fulfills it or betrays it.
Wow.
So what's happening now is a generation has identified its mission and it has said it can fulfill it. That's what's happening right now. Generation Z is trying to fulfill a mission. Yes.
But where does it stand? As in, what's the inspiration? Because you see, your time at the university, you owned the narrative. That's why you are saying you could be hiding or being arrested or being global or something.
Yeah.
You guys owned the narrative. You influenced the change. You are actually at the center of the change we witnessed at the 1991 change of the constitution.
True.
After that, majority of you joined the government and actually negated, right? But then the others, you included,
Stuck on
it. You've been like that forever. Are we seeing the same repeat of that? Like this generation, who after some time, we'll see them joining the government and then negate on what they stand for.
I think the most important thing to say about the Z generation is what they are doing. Because what they are trying to do is helping society transform itself to another level that is morally higher. That to me is the most important thing. Where they'll head, I think it's not fair to speculate.
Okay.
Let them do what they can do. Those who fall off by the wayside, it's a rule of life. Every struggle produces casualties, produces traitors, but it also produces consistent people. Yeah.
When we look at Kenya today, we're doing fairly well compared to the East African nations. Our economy is better. It's rated at 16.1%. Now, one of the complaints we have, the Gen Z are driving, is because majority of them cannot have jobs. And majority of them are victims of corruption, bad governance. So if we can, what we see as Kenyans is totally different from what the writers of this study, because they see an improving economy. We are seeing the total different story. And the result of the total different story is what we are seeing, the Gen Z uprising. Now, in whose hands is this wealth? And should this wealth be in the right hands? Could we be saying Gen Z uprising or not?
You see, what we're experiencing is, you talk about the economy doing well. I wanted to ask you, who says that? Who has said it? And that reminds me of the days when there was a lady in the colonial struggle called Nyanjiro. The Kikuyu Central Association, led by Harry Thuku, were organizing to fight for ownership of land. And I remember Harry Thuku was arrested, taken to Central Police Station. And the men are not doing enough. So she challenged them and told them, you people, if you cannot go and free Central Police Station, the Harry Thuku, and give us the trousers, we do it. So she laid the raid on Central Police Station, and so many were killed. In fact, if you look at the university, the graduation court is called Great Court. Great Court because it's the place where our people are judged and sentenced and executed. So it's called Great Court. Now, at that time, if you ask the settler, how is our economy doing?
Yeah,
Yes.
okay.
The settler will say, well, I have 100 acres.
Hey,
Splendid, my cattle is doing fine.
Splendid, huge, fine, perfect.
Yeah. So this 16% they're talking about,
Eh,
it is 16% of Ruto, Kindiki, and that's it.
Okay.
But that 16% doesn't touch the Generation Z, which walks to town from the rural areas, from the outskirts of town, and eat nothing or eat in the morning and wait for a meal, even if at all they can.
If they're like that is.
Yes.
Whoa. The reason why Gen Z are uprising is because the administration generally lied to them. The Ruto administration made promises it knew it won't be able to fulfill. And when he is asked, he says, as a human being, you can promise something and there are things you can do and others you are in the process of doing. In other words, he's saying, of course, I said, but I've not done it. Now, going forward, are we going to see a change to presidency or it's going to remain the same?
Yeah, talking about whether the presidency is going to remain, is going to change. What comes to mind is what you and I know, that we have had watershed moments
Yes.
in our history.
Yes.
Yeah, I think
1982,
1982, thanks.
2005,
2005, thanks.
and Tuesday last week.
Exactly. Now, 1982 was a watershed point, a turning point, because a person was grappling to control the levers of power, was not getting it right. Now, the coup gave Moi the chance to clamp down on the dissidents. You know, when a project like that fails, there's always the effort to disown.
Yeah.
You'll remember that after that, the contest was every day, the newspaper read, I'm loyal, I'm loyal.
Yeah.
All those guys say, no, I'm loyal.
Actually, guys will do a delegation to the president just to reaffirm.
Affirm their loyalty, and of course leave something small for his Arambes.
Yes.
Yes. So that's what happened. Actually, it was a godsend moment for Moi, or he read the game well and used it well. Crushed all the enemies, cleaned the university of all radical politicians. Mukangi, they all sent to prison. Anyang was sent to exile, all those fellows. And then politically, he also beheaded all his opponents and then took charge and challenged. That's 1992. So actually, 1992 entrenched Moi's heavy hand in the management of our affairs. Now, you said the next one was?
2005 referendum.
2005. Now, we could say 2005, Kibaki took power, 2002.
Yes.
And of course, it go down in history as our best bourgeois politician, bourgeois president. Yeah, because at least he held his hand and let people move. And all the brains worked in various ministries, things started working.
Yes.
Actually, if there's anything you can say about the Kibaki presidency is that he showed us that it is possible to change a country within just a short
Very
time.
short period
Very
of
short
time.
period, the country was different. But the referendum, when the referendum came, it brought out Kibaki's weakness. Unfortunately, Kibaki was a good president who did not want to entrench institutions that would sustain his good governance. First, he didn't want the correct constitution. He wanted the same centralized system which Moi had left, and the colonialists, of course. So now, come the referendum, he continues his benevolence, but he sets us up for failure again by refusing to create the necessary leadership that would sustain his leadership, his governance style. Instead of giving us a team that believed in change, he gives us his ethnic, the boy he named, his son, Uhuru Kenyatta. You know, Kenyatta was named by Kibaki.
Okay.
When he was born, his Kibaki would say, let him be called Uhuru. Now, instead of giving us the best president, he gives us his son. What does the son do? He gives us Ruto. So now, much as we praise Kibaki for the good he did,
Yes.
2005 denies us an opportunity to entrench legislative infrastructure that would have sustained his good style of governance.
But you see, the effects of that was manifest in 2007, 2008, where we had huge losses, lives, property. Now, that was the first conversation towards the changed constitution 2010. Now, another watershed in Uhuru was lucky. Ruto's second year in office, it comes with Tuesday last week. And this boy said, we're coming for you. Of course, at first they didn't want him to behave the way he behaved. He went ahead and they showed him that we can do what we want. Of course, the stories come up that criminals hijacked the process and took over, but the message was home. Now, the Ruto of Tuesday night and the Ruto of Wednesday night, following day.
You see, Kibaki, Uhuru Kenyatta was lucky because he took over a thriving economy, enough grain in the granary, things were doing well. So it was possible to destroy without being noticed. Just the same way Jomo Kenyatta took presidency in 1963, when there were a lot of opportunities. Even if he grabs land, we can't fail it. Even if he commits economic crime, we can't fail it because things were a bit good. So anything you touch anywhere, there's progress.
Yes.
So that's where Uhuru finds himself. Then comes Ruto. Ruto takes over a government he's been part of, but a government that has drained what Kibaki put in the store. Yes. So now, what does he do? He tries to double the destructive efforts that the Uhuru administration also did in a different environment, because to really do what he is trying to practice corruption, he needed a performing economy. Unfortunately, it's not so been performing. And he's a bit unfortunate because any efforts in trying to experience good, any efforts in trying to make sure that good things happen, you need good people to do that. But what's the background of Ruto's team? As Julius Nyerere said, you can't bring socialism without socialists. So he can't talk about corruption and solving issues of human rights when he's dealing with people who are graduates of an evil system. So we have a failed situation is created. Yeah.
Government, corruption in government. I don't want to call it government corruption, but corruption in government. How does it exacerbate poverty?
You see, the word itself explains itself. In fact, in my opinion, the model of development that the governments have adopted, which is tendering. Let's give it the right name. It is just legalized theft.
Whoa.
Yeah. It is called, it should be called legalized theft, where you quote, you do quotations, and the money you spend on that particular project is about 30% or 10%, or even gas, or even air. Okay? As long as you have gone through documentation well, you are free to earn your 80%, 70%, which is just theft. So there is one aspect of corruption which is legalized. You do a road of 10 million shillings, but you ask for 100 million shillings. It's just legalized theft. So that is an entrenched system that guarantees the transfer of resources from the public to individual pockets. That's the first phase. Then the second phase, of course, is how our resources are also appropriated. We get funds coming from Europe, they arrive here, and some of it doesn't arrive here. It's just hived off, just like the Eurobond. I think 50%. That time I was working for Raila Odinga as a director of strategy and political affairs. And we got documentation from the bank, where half the money arrived, the other money is still abroad. So that's just...
And it will never arrive forever.
Yes.
And we are working hard to pay the same bill.
Exactly. And recently there was a talk also that was brought out by the deputy president, who says when they took government, somebody took $2,000 billion and took it off. It is not difficult to know who. Obviously, somebody's known. So that money was taken away, and from that point, we start shaking now. Now, those are new forms of corruption that also make it difficult for us to take off. So we end up paying debts whose impact has never been felt. The stimulation that the loan was supposed to do to the economy was never experienced, so there is no surplus being created to even pay. So we pay using our blood. Yeah, I was talking to a big boy in one of the counties, and he chairs the budget. He's telling me, you know what, when this budget thing comes, I'm given my 20 million. Of course, that 20 million is supposed to silence, get things to happen, and shut up people, then get it passed. You see? So we are a country that that requires a completely new approach. And when I look at what General Z is trying to do, I can't lay my hands on the ideology. That's my problem. I can't lay my hands on the system they advocate for. But what I feel good about is that at least they are young. They have not interacted with the system enough. They have not been socialized into corruption. So anything different, whatever it is up here. And continue with what we have right now.
You see, they have so much energy, and they are aware. They're in the space. They know what's happening. They are informed. Even if no one told them, they will research and find out. Their parents sit in these offices. You just mentioned one who brags about being given money just because he needs to let or look the other way. They know because they hear and they share among themselves. So, as to the ideology, that will need to wait a bit longer. Why? Because it's now we are interacting with them. But another danger comes up. When you're young, you notice things. You can stand up for them. You can stand up to what you believe. But then you tend to grow old and you either negate or something happens.
You slow down.
You slow down.
Yeah.
So does the slowing down occur? Or what is it? Because you guys, you changed the story of this country. You are in the struggle, the second liberation struggle, at the center of it. Your colleagues are in government right now doing what you guys fought for or fought against. these young guys are just doing this because they have the energy. Don't you agree?
You see, I've been lucky to have worked with, to live with most of these fellows in government. Lusaka was my classmate, both in Kibabi and the university. Gachagua, the Dugiji was my classmate also. At that time, he was an establishment person. I must say that one of the gains he made at the university is be a good eye for the government, and I, being a rebel leader at the time, of course, it was him versus me. Him for the system, and me under target. What am I doing? Information is passed to the system through him. I must say he was the only one in my times who could call the president directly. In fact, he moved near you, we all keep quiet, because that was a government eye.
Okay.
Yeah. Now we come to Ruto. I also know him. Yeah. He told me that he was, when he was an MP, we met, he told me that he was the first year when I was third year. And as fate would have it, when you got change, and he joined ODM and became a minister, Raila called me and told me, please, here is a minister, go, he gives you something to do. Feed your children. So I ended up being his PA when he was minister for agriculture and under the ODM flag. I used to draft speeches for you. He sits here. Yano sits here. We type speeches up to 2 o'clock. Gives us 5,000 for taxi, we go home. So I work for him, really. So I must say, I know them. But one thing comes out very clearly, that the people more propped up are the ones in power, assisted by those who compromised on our side. They also get accommodation there. If I also compromised, there's a seat for me. I'll tell you that Owalo called me to go and join them. Actually, I told me, hey, please come, we talk. He bought my air ticket, I went up Nairobi. And he told me, please, let's work for Ruto. You're growing old, you need a house in Nairobi. So no, when you grow old, you need a house in the rural areas. So basically, I didn't go. I'm just saying that the system has put its own people, the ones it brought up from the beginning, and put them in power. Now, those of us who challenge the system and were inspired by radical scholars at the university like Alamin Mazrui, Gupta, Nyang Nyong'o, Ngugi wa Thiong'o, those people, those of us who took that path, we also just followed the same path. They went to prison, we also went to prison. They came out, we came out. They went to exile, we also came out. We went to exile, came back, fought, we're still here fighting. Where we are, I must say that we are still leading. We're still doing our thing. While they run government and support the economy, we are supporting the Z generation to fix the economy. Because at every time in our history, we've always had two branches. The branch of those who are correcting and the branch of those who are eating and spoiling. So I can't say we're irrelevant. We're just playing the positions that we can play as people who are senior citizens. Age has simply slowed us down. The last time I hope I'm not talking too long, the last time we were having a demonstration in Nairobi, it was against the IEBC. And I'm telling you, of course, when Raila pops up from a vehicle as one of his soldiers, I don't stick in the car, I come out. Because if the old man wants to be shot, then you must be shot first.
You need
I have to do that. Even if I'm ideally, I'm a director who's not supposed to stick in the car. But because of my respect for the commander, I have to get out of the car. Because then I'm more important in securing him. So I ran ahead and saw the tear gas and those guys were trying to spray water. So I signaled him and said, you guys, when you reach here, lower your head. I actually told Wetangula, lower your head. And he went down. So they all went down and tear gas, of course, began. But I learned something. After they went, I remained in the streets. And GSU hit from all sides and suffocated, didn't know what to do. That day, after surviving it, I said, no, I'm an old man. I have to look for, I have to play another number in this field. I can't keep running. So now at 61, I can't go in mass action unless I'm in a double cabin.
There is something you can do, and that is us.
Yeah.
You see, these kids in the streets are ours. I asked my daughter, do you want to go? She said, no. Then I asked her, is it because you don't want to go or you can't go? He said, I want to go, but I can't go. Yeah. So, what is it we're looking at? As in, we need someone to sit at the back end to inspire and actually give a new meaning to this uprising. You talked about ideology. Yeah, they need that kind of leadership. Yeah.
Yeah, they do. They do. And but you see, ideology doesn't have to be foreign. It doesn't have to be imparted into them by us. As they participate in the struggle, that's the best school for understanding what you need to do for a country. Yeah, as they continue hitting walls, being arrested, they go to prison. One of the things I've done, I've been arrested many times. I think I've been arrested 24, I was counting the other day, 24 times in police custody. And one of the beautiful things about being in police custody is that you have time to think. And you go there, because political prisoners, you're not given anything to do. And because you just sit there in police custody or in prison. And you get time to reflect, analyze, you discuss. So these young people also, as they are taken to prison, as they are taken to custody, those are schools. Places where they share stories, they talk about the history, discuss farming, discuss foreign policy. When they come from there, they're better human beings than us.
Trouble is, there is no organized arrest. In fact, we are describing it as abductions. These guys are just busy minding their own business. And then among you, you don't see it. You start wondering, what happened? Then later on, we come up with a narrative, abductions. These abductions, is it normal?
No, we have our government and I can't call it law enforcement, but an agency for suppression that that is trying to improve, or whatever improvement means. It's trying to improve on its coercive skills. You see, Moi used to arrest us and takes us to cells. Now, under Ruto, it is kidnap, and the kidnap to be taken where nobody knows. So those are the new problems that we have. And what you would say is better about Moi's regime as far as styles of coercion are concerned, is that you are fairly arrested formally, not just raided and grabbed. What I saw happening to Alfred Ketel, a former member of parliament, was very traumatic. Actually, I shed a tear. You grab somebody in the midst of children. He's a fellow who can't run away. He's a member of parliament. He's been a former member. He's a leader of the country. Then you just go and subject him to that. Surely, one at a time, even in a bar, a church, or something that's where he can be alone. So we have.
Now, what does that do to get this child who comes up that?
You see, that's what I felt. It is damage. It is. He's basically created a problem for this society in the mind of that person. That trauma comes out in many ways. A traumatic experience can manifest in also violence. A traumatic experience can turn the fellow into a permanent rebel to anything. You see, so when you subject kids to that kind of environment, I know that Ruto will never recover. In their heads, they are even, they were called William Ruto because of the manner in which they treated their father. And they can't tell us it was so critical. Because, let me tell you, you don't grab somebody that badly, then release him in the evening. Why were you arresting the fellow? It means it was not a serious matter. So that was really, It's an experience that will go down in history as one of the ugly things that happened around the resistance situation that we are going through now.
Mr. Buke, what is it that is making Ruto very unpopular? Okay, I have a few ideas.
Yes,
if
yes.
you walk around Kalenjin land today, there are questions about fake fertilizer. Those farmers who spend money to buy fake fertilizer
Yes.
were never compensated. They paid twice to get the second batch of fertilizer for them to do farming. That is one. Around Kalenjin land today, there was a story about Sweden. Kids and parents paid money to the tune of 1.2 billion that officials never
Accounted for the money.
they never accounted for the money. They never took the kids to benefit. Today, that is a very, and then looks like the president shields those guys. Now, that's what we see. But what is it that is making Ruto very unpopular?
You know, you've had leadership in the past who also experience downturn, who experience a setback in their popularity, but they still don't sink. You know why? Sometimes even someone like Raila Odinga, he's made very unpopular moves, which sends us to the bedrooms to sleep and we're depressed. But you know why we still forgive him? He has a history of goodness. Because of that long history of long positive history, any mistake he makes can dissolve. Yeah. History has a way of forgiving those who have done so much for the country. Now, here we have William Ruto, who has no positive history, zero. No positive history, just an evil history. He's not recovered from the ICC. There was the 2007 post-election violence. There was 1982. There's also now, you come to the Uhuru administration, then you come to the many killings that have happened during political transitions. Then now, so now he comes, brings together people, manipulates, cheats the young people to back him up. So now, as he captures power and starts seeing what he can do about it, any small mistake, he cannot be able to win any sympathy because people are waiting for him to start being good. And yet he can't start being good. He has
When for the simples, the wheelbarrows were crashed. As they could turn them down, upside down. Some of them were crashed.
Yeah.
That is telling.
Yeah. So now when he finds himself being unpopular, people look back at what do they see? They see false promises. They see crime. They see corruption. They see the stepping stones to his being president is about committing one crime or the other. So now what are they supposed to see that's coming ahead? It's more lies and more evil. So President Ruto is captured by his own placing in time and in history. Yeah, he's a captive of his entire history, which makes him, there's nothing can give people. Yeah. He comes to Bungoma on Madaraka Day and he's even unable to mention Jomo Kenyatta. But he didn't mention. Do you realize? He didn't mention Jomo Kenyatta. Basically, history scares him. So now, if you cannot position yourself on in history properly, how will you support your existence?
Whoa.
History is uncomfortable for him. The future, he can't manage it. So it's just under siege, as the Luo say.
Oh my. So that makes him very unpopular. He makes mistakes.
And because he's oblivious of history, he can't see what it means to suppress a just cause. You know, Moi was smarter than him. Moi knew that some things you may only postpone, but they must happen. So you push. The day you pushed for no reforms, no election, 1987, pushed him. He came out, killed people. I think we lost about 16 people. 16 people. 4 in Nyahururu. That time I was deployed in Mombasa to lead the mass action there. There, the strategy we picked was people abstaining from coming to town as opposed to demonstrations, because it was a can zone that time. And I was the one in charge, but they arrested me before this could take off. But I'm saying all that pressure and the killings, Moi realized here, that's a turning point. So he accepted to have an IPPG discussion, which at least opens some vents for us to breathe. Legally speaking, you could hold a meeting without consulting anybody, that kind of thing. But now we have a boy here. I'm right to call him a boy because he's younger than me. Ruto. Anyway, so it's on a light touch. But we have a president here who thinks that what he needs is brute force, physical force. Because physical force has given him quite some achievements. One, he managed to escape the ICC case because of making sure that witnesses disappear. That was a gain. And indeed, he survived. Now, he realized also that they rigged elections, brutalized people, and captured power. You see? So he realized, hey, violence can also help. Then he comes, takes the presidency, and he realizes that pressure can also be dealt with by using force. And now he has pushed it a step further in a manner that we can't even compare to any country. Of course, our history is nothing like that. Where you invite the police, the army, to do police functions. In short, his strategy for maintaining power is getting the coercive instruments of the state into action. Yeah.
But that narrative, that script is not helping. Because if he followed Moi's script, the environment at which Moi functioned is totally different.
Yeah, thank you. That's a good
one. The script that you follow will be Moi's script in suppressing dissent. But it's not working. The environment is totally different. The country now is not interested in, as in, there's no way the Moi script can work in him. Okay, in the Ruto administration. So Ruto is helpless. He doesn't know what to do.
You see, what if he was so, I don't want to use rough language, I hear that's bad. If he was not so endowed with wisdom, I would just advise him to be a Moi. Yeah, that works. But now, he instead thinks that he can multiply Moi by 10. Because that's what he's trying to do, to multiply Moi by 10. Moi was not a cheap liar. He was a more decent public communicator. You see, you go on TV and tell us that only 6 people have died. Now, you think we can't count bodies? 6 people. 6 people instead of 20. The following day, it is discovered. Even as he speaks, everyone knows he's lying. Now, how do you expect people to deal with you when you can't be trusted with anything you say? Yeah. So anything he says, nobody believes. You know, like they say, there's some saying that the punishment of a liar is that when that liar says the truth, nobody believes. That's the crisis that Ruto has. In fact, I can say, if he was a bright guy, he would ask his deputy to be communicating government policies, because the deputy has a greater credibility than him. Him, nobody believes. Gachagua, he lies, but at something like 50%, he might get some little listening here and there. Right now, the best spokesman for his government is Rigiji, my classmate.
Question is, how is Ruto going to shed off the lying tag that he has attracted on himself?
Left-handed knowledge, brother. Is it possible? I think and come out. That's what he requires. And I think that room for me is first admitting, calling Kenyans and saying, you guys, I don't mean bad. I think we can do better. What I suggest is that we form a government of national unity. Then people start seeing hope, not in him, but the team that's coming to join him. Yeah. Then once he does that, then he can corner us back into being loyal to him. Maybe he can get another term, because Kenyans are very casual with voting these days. They vote for non-criminals.
When you talk about being voted again, it reminds me of a post Keter said, because Keter said we are looking into a half presidency. Do you think half-term presidency? If elections are called today, how many of us will actually vote for the president?
You see, first talking about half presidency, I'm just wondering, how will Ruto survive?
The full term?
Yes, is a huge burden. If he is resigned, it may be. Anyway, I'm just saying it's no problem. Because one, people require comfort in their respective homes. Now, not tomorrow, because it's been growing and comfortable over time. For you to make them comfortable, you need resources. Okay? Resources that can enable you run government and invest. Ruto does not have those resources. For that matter, the government does not have those resources. Just like they messed it up from the Kibaki era, him and Ruto. They messed it up. Now it's payback time. Who carries the donkey? It is William Ruto. People don't want nonsense in their homes because they've been pushed down. Point number one. Point number two, the president does not have the wherewithal to deal with the economy. Then the third problem is that he lacks the charisma to call the people to order and be patient, because he is a known liar. Yeah. So now I don't know how he will proceed from here. So when Keter talks of half presidency, I'm seeing that as a foundation for the collapse of his government. The fourth point, which makes his presidency questionable, is that he's sleeping on a bed with bed bugs. He's leading a divided house. How the hell can you be a president whose deputy is pushing one direction and you're putting another direction? So when you confront you, where will you run? How will you organize your army? If you come and address the nation in a crisis, your president's not there. Your deputy president's not there.
He's also giving his
own president's down there. So a divided house that is constituted of people whose moral credentials speak of opportunism throughout their lives. The Ruto team can tell these are just, the best word is hyenas. People in search of what to eat. In fact, when there's no food here, they go elsewhere. And if they see pressure, they'll have to disappear. The other day, General Z is chasing them up to their homes. Didmas Care, Didmas who? Didmas Baraza, all these fellows being raided all over. What do opportunists do in those conditions? They back off. So in short, Ruto has nobody who can die for him. And in a crisis, you need people can die with you. Raila in a crisis, we shall die defending the old man because we've been with him and we are loyal to him.
And
who can die?
How good he has been.
Yes, who can die for Ruto? You can't give me one person. I'm not even sure his wife can die for him. Now, in an environment like that with all these crises, please, if heaven is open, you better just go there. Like he keeps telling his famous 3 things. Heaven. He better goes to heaven to rest.
Oh God, there was a guy in the Bible who dug a hole. And it's so I don't know whether that narrative will be applicable to the president. Anyway, coming back to Gen Z as we finish the show, what do you think is the best thing for them to do going forward? Do you think it's time for them to now reveal their leadership? Because the president has been calling. That's why Moi's narrative cannot, or script cannot work. Because 1997 IPPG, there was the people Moi called to represent the masses. Gen Z, there's no one you can call to represent the Gen Zs. In fact, when you try to call them, they said, we want you online, because that's where we started, and here we are. Now, don't you think it's time for them to reveal their leadership so that we can now engage and actually try to come to terms with what could be their ideology?
You see, that reminds me of our raid on Parliament in 1988, thereabout, when we came together. The budget was bad. We had Moi to bring reforms, constitutional reforms was not heeding. So he said you're going to raid Parliament. So in our planning, we planned and decided the best way to proceed is to lobby. We lobbied Ndingi Mwana Wanzeki, Archbishop Ndingi Mwana Wanzeki, the person in charge of Holy Family Basilica at that time, next to Parliament. So I'm talking about leadership and its dangers and why Gen Z strategy works and ours failed. So we all gathered at the provost. The reason why we picked Ndingi Mwana Wanzeki is because he had the collar with the religious leader. We hoped we would be beaten less or he would not be beaten. Okay? That's why we went for him. Then, of course, he also tapping in his large Catholic constituency. Yeah. But when you went there, these Catholics, Kibaki, I think was it Kibaki? No, Kibaki was out that time, to Satoti. They had intimidated the guy and scared the guy into knowing that it's going to be a situation that people are going to be killed. So all of us gathered there with members of whatever, Lowering goes there. Other religious people like Timothy Joya, Kibuta Kibwana, leader of National Constitution Executive Council, they turned up. Then Ndingi comes and tells us, kwa sababu ile mambo nimesikia, serikali imepanga mambo mabaya, I'm calling off the march on Parliament. Now, the government can't plan anything good. It wants to preserve itself. So, fighting us is a given. So, anyway, I was that time a very no-nonsense young man. So, I told Kabando, a Nyeri former MP that time, a youth like myself, that let's go and carry Njoya up. Yeah. So that people can see that he can also lead. So, without notifying, we just went, grabbed him and put him on our shoulders. So, yeah. So that people can see him and rally around him. Because we knew Joya would not betray us. Actually, he kicked me. Kicked me and said, who told you to call me? Now, what happened? We didn't know that we had actually set up Joya for an attempted assassination. And
he was actually beaten. He was
so covered. When we went up to Parliament, yes, and we were blocked, I asked Asaf from Israel disease. When we went up and we were blocked, yeah, I asked Njoya and Kibwana, can I silence people so that you can talk to them? Yeah. You see, I'm a loyal person, I'm a soldier, but I'm dependent on leadership. Yes. I want them to give us direction. Instead of me giving direction, I'm looking at them. So Njoya told me, no, we have, people have been following me around, was a problem. So then, before I could silence people, hell broke out. Then of course, we ran away. He was beaten badly. He's beaten. But why is he being beaten? He's being beaten because I and Kabando carried him up and said, this is the next man to kill. Ndingi has given up. Now kill Njoya so we can remain leaderless and do nothing. So I'm just saying that I think the youth, our children, don't have to reveal a leader if they think they're not ready for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, because the chain of command is established,
Yes.
communication is effective. They are talking among themselves. They can be able to execute anything. So let them go ahead the way they happen, the way it's happening, until such a time when they think it's ready for them to reveal a leader, right?
Yes. Well, yeah, I think let their experiences create leadership. And the beautiful thing about a protracted struggle is that it prepares them also for leadership, and it weeds out garbage and creates consistent leadership which emerges logically from that particular struggle.
One thing I want to remember is the history you've given us from the 80s. It became so pronounced early 90s. And I remember there was a time you could not even lift two fingers. That's when, just before the repeal of Section 2A. We've passed through this. And maybe, just as you say, the leadership, if established now, it will be compromised, maybe even killed.
Yes.
With the ongoing abductions, they think abducting this one will silence them. Then they're abducting the hand when the head is elsewhere.
Yes, exactly. Oh, there are 3 heads. 4. They capture this one, there's another
This one
3.
is alive.
Another 3 heads.
What's your final word?
Yes, my final
And
word.
your final word, I want you to tell us if there are any proposals or any suggestions you'd like to make to either, like, if it's the government, what change in policy, what changes in policy you may suggest, and on the side of Gen Zs, what is it they need to do now going forward, given that they've given the real fear, this is not the fear of the Lord, but the real fear into the government. So it can listen to them. What is it they need to do?
I begin with the government. This government is composed of people out to fleece. You've seen all of them go to churches, bundles of money amidst poverty. I'm trying to define the leadership. Bundles of money within a short time. Watches, 4 million shillings. Shoes, 600,000. That defines the moral fiber of the entire KK Ruto leadership. That's who they are. Yeah. Now, if they are that, what does that mean for us? It means that for us to get anything from them, any gain from them, it has to be GNC all the time. That they can panic and hopefully steal less and improve on their ways. As the president has been saying the other day, all of a sudden he now realizes that he can cut down on expenditures and do this kind of. He's realizing just now. Our whole president can't tell from the beginning that he doesn't have enough. It is now they realize he doesn't have enough, and the correct strategy is not taxing people for others to steal, but to cut down on the available money for stealing. Okay? So for the government to give us anything, we need GNC to be permanently creating hell. Is that sustainable? I don't think so. So given that the moral fiber of the leadership that we have, led by a person whose charisma has been drained to zero by falsehoods, maladministration, terror, extermination of people, abductions, a person who lacks any positive history that people can rely on and say, this particular thing that happened, he was very good, so maybe he can be good in tomorrow. That is not there. You go to his deputy, the same story. These are fellows who are suppressing the country. The other day he talked against Moi, and I laughed, because Moi is the one who made him, and Moi is the one who kept him going at the university driving cars and wearing suits. But you see, they're all packaging themselves for the moment. So I'm saying that they are inextricably, unstoppably destined for failure. My problem is, what kind of failure is it going to be? Is it the disintegration of our country? Is it a total collapse and causing social strife till we go the Rwandan way and other countries' way? That's my fear, because collapse and failure sometimes leads to that particular point. So what do I have to say about this government? This government should, at the very minimum, say, let me be president, but let everybody else around me be different. And then I become a figurehead. That's the best scenario that I can see. In the absence of that, they have to step aside and allow another government to occupy space. In the absence of that, they have to be assisted back to Siguri by any means available in the Bible and in the Constitution. Because the Bible is very democratic. It says there's also a just war. War is destruction and killing. So the Bible can advise us, please, there's a just war here to be fought. Assist these people get out of power. Now, let's go to GNC. GNC is a shocking and unprecedented experience, not just for Kenya alone, I think for the world. I have argued in my past that there is no team anywhere in history that has come up together as an age group, excluded everybody, and get felt in terms of impact in transforming society. Now that, I have to rework it, because there is nowhere, sincerely, in an African experience where young children say, don't talk to us, we don't know you, don't even know us, we're making something. Then they do that. So I think that it is our obligation as failures, because if all these struggles I've been involved in can give me Gachagua and Ruto for president, and of course Weta, all these designers of Kano as leaders of this country, then we failed. So as failures, let us play loyal, the Generation Z, to take us anywhere else, because wherever they take us is new.
And it's better.
It will be definitely better than what we have.
Whoa. It's a minute past 10 o'clock. Dear viewer, I just want to thank you for taking time to be with us here to listen and watch West TV. This is definitely uncharted territory for everyone in the country. And Gen Z, you got a job to do. Just as my guest has summed it up properly, we are all failures, but you have given us the direction. So we are going to be loyal to you. Take us in the new direction, which will definitely be better than where we are. On behalf of my director, Kevin Kibet, and on behalf of my guest, this is CKS. See you next week on Tuesday.
Pambana sana kijana wangu. Usipambane kutafuta maisha, sababu maisha tayari unayo. Pambana.